This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm the fellow who has a hyphen in my name. The hyphen is silent, but I am anything but that. Respectonomics is bringing you a discussion on, this is for the Living Asset series. And this one is a life discussion on, we've talked about some of the fears that we experience, the fears of looking foolish, the fears of failure, the fears of success. And we're talking now about something a little bit different. It's called occasional circumstantial shyness. What I want to address here is that we can be very shy. We can be very forthright, we can be loudmouthed, we can be brash, but there are circumstances when we just say, no, I do not want to make a statement in that particular environment. We want to explore that. This is an offering by Respectonomics. It's the Living Asset series, and your speaker, your podcaster is your Voice of Respectonomics, Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm sorry that Sarah Benton, my co-host, is unable to be with us. So we're going to be looking at this business of situational, call it that, situational shyness. And this is one of those things when I can speak in one situation, but not in another. The absolute classic is that I'm at a party and I can go up to anybody there, people I don't know, and say, hello, my name is, how are you doing? Or how's your day going? And I can ask all those questions and I can have that kind of instant rapport with somebody and enjoy their company and so on. But I cannot make a phone call to that same individual that I don't know. In other words, there's a shyness. No, I can do it in a party setting, but I can't do it on the telephone. I can do it on the telephone, but I wouldn't want to go up to them at a party. And the list goes on of the alternatives. We can all think of the times when coulda, shoulda, woulda, but we just don't do it. And it's a behavioral issue, because if you think about it, that fear that is holding us back is one that inhibits our ability, our potential to be successful. We are held back. I'm not talking about where there's a legitimate reason for saying, nope, this is not the time to mention something. I'm talking about the time when it would make perfect sense to introduce yourself or to be introduced to somebody, and for some reason we feel shy. Now, shyness often stems from things that we remember where we got rejected or we got some kind of pushback, and we emotionally that doesn't feel very comfortable. Therefore, if we're not emotionally comfortable, we will behaviorally change how we handle it. So just even recognizing the shyness is often stemming from a fear from an event from way back when, or whenever actually, but whatever it is, just even having that recognition is helpful. One of the things we find with fears of reaching our potential, when we know that we can do these things, but somehow we can't, one of the things that's helpful is in fact to identify the problem. So we're identifying here that I can do something on one set, but not on another. And then we have to confront it. Now, to confront these kinds of fears, you need to have a tool that is going to allow you to do it. And one of the most powerful ones is the ones when you write down on a piece of paper, I'm going to go to a party or whatever it is you're going to go to, but imagine the setting where you know you should be calling somebody or meeting somebody, and you don't want to do it. That is an expression, first of all, that needs to be recognized. So you write down on that piece of paper what you're feeling. You write down, I do not want to talk to so-and-so. I do not want to meet so-and-so. I don't want to hear from so-and-so. Whatever it is. But you write it down. And the first thing you're doing is you're allowing yourself the freedom to admit to yourself that's how you feel. Half the problem at the moment is we try and cover up our feelings, and then, of course, we cover up our feelings to ourselves. So to disclose to oneself one's true feeling is a valuable insight. So you write down, I do not want to call Mrs. Henry. And you write that down. Then underneath that, you spend half an hour and you write down 25 reasons. If you can't come up with 25 reasons, then you're going to have to go longer than half an hour. But you write down 25 reasons why that particular line of thinking is in fact irrational. So, for example, in the case of I don't want to call Mrs. Henry, well, she can't bite my head off because I'm on the telephone. So you write down the 25 things that really make your reason for not calling irrational. Irrational means, in other words, it doesn't have an intellectual response to it. It's not like saying, if I do that, I will get myself into enormous trouble. Well, then that's a very valid reason for not making a call or a visit, whatever it is. But as long as the reasons are irrational, it's well worth writing them down. So what we're doing here is called counter blocking. And what you do is you write down these 25 reasons why that particular line of thinking is irrational. And I'll tell you what's fascinating. As you go down the list and you go deeper into yourself, the first few reasons tend to be rather superficial. But when you go deeper than that, you start finding out that there are reasons that really, really are yours. They're very personal. To the outsider, they seem almost trivial, but to you, they're very, very real. But by being able to look at them, you then are able to confront it. And one of the experiences is this. As we confront this issue of shyness, as we deal with it, I think it's a stretch to say we eliminate shyness. I don't think we ever quite do that. But you'd go a long, long way to putting it into its unproductive place and say, no, I'm not going to exercise shyness for irrational reasons. This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. Be very happy to meet with people in a consultative process, meet people in presentations, workshops, speeches, and those kinds of gatherings. But we need to get this message out because the shyness can take away a lot of people's capacity to be very successful. I rest my case.